I really do. But I know how this is going to go. So we're not going to risk it. We're not going to risk it for the biscuit. We're just going to talk and conversate like we normally do. What the hell? What? Sorry, I'm like looking over in the corner and people are messaging in the messenger and it's just a bunch of, and let's just say it's a bunch of insanity. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, the insane gang freak. So what we're gonna be doing? Gotta be pussyfooting it. Oh, that sucks. Jesus Christ, Richie, relax. I appreciate the support, but holy crap! All right, so what's up, guys? So I figured we do general discussion. I think the way I'm gonna try to do this is do an hour of like just me talking, and then maybe like another hour of people joining in, depending if the conversation is engaging enough, or if I run out of interesting things to say, which always seems to happen because it's the same topic over and over again. So there's not a lot of crazy news. There have been some things that have been announced, some games, some stuff. Like it's not like nothing's been going on. But this will be interesting for lack of a better term. So let's go over here. Where is it? This is not what I was looking for. What's up, Antro? Ooh. Where is it? Did I miss it? Nope. Oh, here we go. So we could start off with some positivity or we can start off with some negativity. Kind of just depends on how we want to deal with it. I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do this, so I got to figure out how I want to approach this. Let's look at Gamatsu. Because we've had an Xbox Direct, we've had a Capcom Direct, we've had a Monster Hunter Direct, and there's also been a bunch of rumor mill stuff. But in general, hopefully everyone is doing well. Everyone's been chilling. Happy Friday, everybody. We're at the weekend, baby. So I guess the Nintendo success is very simple, actually. The Nintendo success is, hey, look, guys. We now have the most first-party million sellers of any gaming system ever, which makes perfect sense considering this thing is currently on the rise to be the best-selling game system of all time. It's about 10 million off, I believe. What's up, Red Dragon? What's up, Twin Dagas? What's up, everybody? So Nintendo currently is so close to being king, like they've been. And they've reaffirmed themselves, and all they really need to do is sell about another 10 million, and they're Gucci. Although I think the recent financial reports stated something along the lines that they don't really have any intentions of dropping the price, which everyone and their grandmas in the back like, drop the price! You're so close! Drop the price! And a lot of people might understand and say, hey, do you really need them to drop the price? The short answer is no. I do not need them to drop the price personally, but I want them to because I want them to have this victory because I think they deserve it. I think they've earned it. I think it's theirs, and they need to go over there and claim it. The problem is Nintendo's like, I want to make money. And I'm like, Nintendo, you've already sold 150 million of these things at $300, $350, and like $200 respectfully. Can we please take a little bit of an L for this last 10 million because I want you to get this W. Please get this W. It's not even that I need. Also, because y'all understand something. Nintendo, unfortunately, as far as the fandom is concerned, gets a high level of disrespect, right? Every time we talk about gaming consoles and powerfulness and the quality of IPs and sales, Nintendo somehow randomly finds itself excluded out of the conversation. Some of you might be asking the question, well, why is that? Well, the answer is simple. Because people have created this, to be fair, it was technically Sega's fault. And then it got really perpetuated through actions of Nintendo and various other companies that Nintendo is for babies, Nintendo is for kids. And because Nintendo is for kids, guess what? That means we shouldn't take it seriously in any way whatsoever. Don't take them seriously. They're just doing baby games. Mario Kart's for baby, Pokemon's for babies, Mario's for babies, Zelda's for babies. And everyone in the back is like, stop disrespecting my IP. And the one thing they couldn't say about the Wii, and I've said it before, the Wii they couldn't really get on because the Wii was consistently successful up until like 2010, 2009, 2010, which is when it really started falling off. And then it was, and then the Wii U was just straight out ridicule. All that Nintendo hate that people held in for the entire Wii generation, they let loose on the Wii U. And let's be real here, the Wii U got way more disrespect than it absolutely deserved. But unfortunately, it was a lot of vitriol from the Wii. The Nintendo haters and people who just didn't respect the console couldn't get out because, hey, we're making money. Hey, we're getting paid. You can't sit there and say they ain't selling. They're selling your console. Didn't matter. So when the Wii U came out and struggled, it was like, boy, I'm about to come get that square looking ass, boy. And so as a result, all this disrespect came. And then the Switch got to be the biggest underdog of the year because it was like, man, I think Nintendo going third party. I think Nintendo about to put their games on PlayStation and Xbox. I think we about to start playing Mario on PC. That's where all that doom and gloom came out. And then all of a sudden, hey, Switch sold, like, it's already outsold the Wii U in its first year. Oh, it ain't nothing crazy. It was only like 13 million. They did it in like, what, less than 6 months? Less than a year? Yeah, man. It's nothing crazy. And then they kept breaking records. They kept beating consoles. They kept outselling multiple consoles, and they kept going. Oh, I splashed water on my keyboard. That wasn't smart. Maybe I shouldn't slam the cup down that is open. That wasn't smart. But the point is they kept smashing records. They kept smashing milestones. And now you are currently the console. You are the third most sold console ever, I think, currently. The only two it's behind is the DS, which I'm very confident in it beating the DS, right? It'll probably have the DS beaten by the end of the year. Hell, they might have the DS beaten by the summer, depending on how things move. But the point I'm making is you have the DS, right? And then you have the PlayStation 2. You've already beaten both of those consoles in terms of exclusive million sellers, right? But ironically enough, I think it's almost safe to say, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I think technically the Switch has a better attach rate for some of its most popular games than the PlayStation 2 ever did. Like, the PlayStation 2 was a powerhouse of a console in terms of how much it sold and how many games were on it. But I think Nintendo technically has a better attach rate between the Switch and its games. But you can correct me if I'm wrong for those in the chat. But the point I'm absolutely making here is that, simply put, they have slowly reaffirmed their place in gaming as king. And if they can take this from PlayStation 2, they absolutely cannot be ignored ever. Ever. You can't say nothing. We're the best-selling system. We have the most millions seller exclusives. We have the highest attach rate, or a very high attach rate, and we have sold the most. And we appeased our fans, mostly. Depends on which franchise you're a fan of, depends on how appeased you are. Zelda fans have been very appeased. Like, super appeased. Mario fans are pretty appeased, somewhere around appeased, and maybe like very appeased, because there hasn't really been any bad Mario experiences on Switch. Fire Emblem fans have been fed. I don't know if I would say fed well, but they've been fed. I won't say they haven't been fed. We got 2 mainline games, both of which at the very least are okay. I don't think they're terrible or bad. Although I would say I think I enjoyed Engaged in some ways way more than Three Houses. I thought Engaged was funner overall, but that's a personal opinion. It's also very back to the anime fan serviceness, which is sad because you can tell that Three Houses was trying to take itself more seriously. But that's a whole other thing. The point I'm really making is that Nintendo, I think, very much has earned this. they haven't really been on top in the gaming sphere since probably the Super Nintendo, right? I think the Super Nintendo was the last time they could be argued to be on top. The Nintendo and Super Nintendo, right? Yeah, I know, Donnie. I know you're gonna hit me with the translation conversation. But the point I'm making is, with the in the situation that we're currently in, I would like Nintendo to completely reaffirm itself, especially with this like very weird energy with the Switch 2 currently, where people are excited, but we don't know how excited. And let's be real here, it'd be a crazy feat for them to double to be just as successful as the previous console. I don't even think PlayStation consoles have consistently outsold each other. Obviously, everything from the PlayStation 2 was a drop off. Hold on, let me see. Sony PlayStation console sales. Let me see. That is not what I meant to do. I should have put sales, because if you put sale, it doesn't know how to quantify it. And that actually didn't help. Oh no. PlayStation. Why did he do it like this? This is such a weird row. Okay, here we go. So, let's see. The PS2 was at 160. The PSP was at 76. The PS3 was at 87. The PS4 was at 117. And the PS5 is currently at 65. It looks like. Which I don't know how value this is. But the point is, they dropped off hard with the PS3. The PS3 was just a nasty follow-up to the PS2. The PS4 did better, which kind of bums me out, because I think the PS4 is a lesser console in terms of, I think in terms of a console hardware, it was great. But in terms of like game library, I think it was absolutely weaker. And currently, we're coming up on PlayStation 5's 5th year, and we're at 65 million, which if we're going on pace, it more than likely will beat the PS3 probably by the end of this year or early next year, I'm assuming. Now, if we're going by the 7-year thing, that would imply that more than likely PlayStation. Well, I see, and that all depends on what games we have come out, because right now, I don't know how I think that that's currently going to be viable. That's a wait and see situation. You should have just put sale. You should have put sales number. Well, the sales numbers for PlayStation I just read. Nintendo, it's gonna. I already know some of them by heart. Like I know the Wii was in the hundreds, like early hundreds, million. The Wii U was like 13, and the Switch is currently at like 150. Wait, did you mean sales numbers for games, Red Dragon? Like specifically, which sales numbers are you asking about? Just so I know which ones you're referring to go look up. But the point is that I want them to be the best selling console. I want the Switch to be that. I think it's earned it. I think it deserves it. I would like that to happen. And that's a very much a, not that Nintendo needs the money, not that they could use it. No, I'm just a biased fan. That is like my fanboyism. I'm a biased fan who just wants to see them succeed. And then we shift over to Xbox. I don't really know. Okay, so here's the situation, because there's been a lot of discourse with Xbox as of lately, and with the recent news of them putting Forza 5 Horizon on PlayStation 5 and the next, the console ones for what, Nintendo or PlayStation, Red Dragon? I just read off PlayStations. I can go get Nintendos if you really need them. I'll look it up anyways. But so Xbox, while let me just say this first and then we'll get into it. So Xbox has already been talking about how they don't really care about the console race anymore. And it's very obvious that they don't look at their box as a priority, which is a shame, because I feel like it's a waste of money and time to not have a box to show it off. Like, why did you make this expensive console? Xbox had more of a fall since 360. Oh, I agree. A lot of people will disagree when I say the 360 was the beginning of their fall off. A lot of people like to claim it was the Xbox One. But if you were paying attention to gaming, it's really obvious that the 360 is when it started. The first thing to me was the hardware failure. The console was poorly built. Like, I don't think that's even an argument, right? Like, yeah, okay, so yeah, okay, I'll go look at the Nintendo ones. I'll look at the Nintendo sales just for the heck of it. Let me see. What, but like I'm saying, like, what do you? Okay, do you want me to get into the Xbox history before we talk about the whole putting games on PlayStation 5? Do you want me to do that? We can do that first if you want me to. Let me see. I think that was it, wasn't it? Yeah, here it is. Someone actually did a picture of it. The problem is this is not like the proper. This is not an up-to-date list. This is like an old list. Yeah, this is a super old list. I need like. I hate using this as the baseline, but we're gonna have to use it. Oh, I'm looking to see if there's a quick way I can just go through the sales of each of the consoles instead of. And Wikipedia did not do what I wanted to. Is this from? This is from a couple months ago. This is gonna be slightly off for the Switch, but that's about it. So, yeah, that doesn't seem right. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, I see what they did. So, Nintendo's had a very up and down history. They include the Game Boy in here, which I'm not going to do. Actually, Nintendo, all right, I was a little bit off. So, Nintendo's console sales have been 62 million for the NES, 49 million for the Super NES, so it was already a drop off. Then, where the hell is the N64? The N64 was 33 million, which was worse. The GameCube was 22 million. The Wii was 102 million. And then the Wii U was, the Wii U was 14 million. And then the Switch was 141 million. Unfortunately, Nintendo's history very much has shown that its experimentation tends to not work well with home console entertainment, because the reality is that a lot of people wanted their devices to push the boundaries of the new televisions and other systems they bought in their house. Who buys a high-end projector system or a high-end movie theater system to hook up a console that plays old as sin? Now, granted, that wasn't always the case, because when you look at it, the last console that really tried to be a powerhouse was the GameCube, right? But this is when they kept selling lower and lower. Like I said, the NES drop off to the SNES was like 13 million. Then the N64 was like another 16 million. Then the GameCube was another 11 million. And then after the GameCube, they had this insane boom from 22 million to 102 million. You jumped up 80 million with the Wii. The Wii was like, don't you ever disrespect me again. And then the Wii U said, disrespect me all that you want, by dropping from 102 to 14. That's absurd. That was such an insane drop off, only for the Switch to be like, little bro, thank you for crawling so I could run. Tag in, and came out and said 150 million. Don't you ever talk about my little brother. It's that meme that's been going on with Mufasa. What'd you say about my brother? I'm like, what? Don't you talk to my brother? I'm like, what? That's what it feels like. But that I think respectfully we can talk about the Xbox fall off. But Nintendo's always been struggling in consoles. I think PlayStation's the only one that's ever had a consistent climb, and even its drop off isn't crazy. Like, its drop off is literally it starts here, peaks, drops off, dips a little bit back up with the 4, but not as much as the 2, and it's like hovering around here with the 5. So it's just a different experience with console sales, unfortunately. But Xbox's drop off from the 360 was astounding, actually, because you start off with the 360. Well, The original Xbox, first console, it's allowed to make its mistakes. It's kind of learning the ropes and figuring it out. It sold like 24 mil, I think. It sold a little bit more than the GameCube, but it still didn't sell incredibly bad, right? PS5 got fucked by COVID. Nah, no, they got fucked by not having the proper amount of chips to even make the console. And also, once again, most people would tell you PlayStation didn't need a new console. The only console manufacturers who needed new consoles was Nintendo and Xbox. And Nintendo said, "Bet, I got you, fam," and swung it out of the park and became incredibly successful through the. What the heck was that? Oh, thank you for following, internal memory. It scared me. And I was like, what is that noise? It's been a while since I've seen notifications. It freaked me out. I'm so sorry. Thank you for the follow. I forgot I had the YouTube notifications on, so that actually still happens. Although I don't know if that was that for this channel or is that for the Insane Game Freak channel? I'll find out later. The point I'm making is that the 360, although is a lot of people, I would agree in a lot of ways it is the peak of the console, it's also the beginning of its downfall. So like I said, Xbox original doing its little thing, a little bit of a struggles, but a strong first showing, right? And then the 360 came out, and they came out swinging in terms of games and quality. What hurt was the underlining stuff in the background that was going on. Xbox was doing money hatting like crazy to get its hands on games and get games exclusive to the 360. That was just an industry fail. It created a very toxic environment that screwed over a lot of companies and a lot of games, and we lost a lot during that generation because of these stupid practices and decisions. The second problem is that the console was rushed out the door, and considering how much money they needed to make, in the long run, I think for them it was probably the better choice. But if I were to be completely honest with you, they very much screwed over the consumer to a degree with that console. And unfortunately for the consumer, a lot of the consumers at that point in time were so blinded by bias they didn't care. They had no interest in caring, and they didn't care that your console was a piece of crap. It was killing your discs and dying every other day, right? No one cared because they wanted to play Halo. That is very much blind consumerism at its finest. That they didn't care about anything going on with the console as long as they could play Halo. Motherfuckers were going out and buying multiple Xboxes just to play Halo. There was so much money wasted just to play Halo, okay? And like I said, they had a bunch of exclusive contracts with third parties. BioShock was exclusive. I think Mass Effect was exclusive. There was a bunch of different titles that were just exclusive to the 360. And what hurt Xbox and what really was the third thing is that they stopped trying, is the way I like to call it. They had spent so much money, invested so much, and then the moment those games went third party, they all fell on PlayStation, and PlayStation slowly got its act together. That even with all that strong start and goodwill and copying Nintendo, don't worry, Sony did it too with the Move, Connect and Move, right? PlayStation still ended up beating them because they fumbled so hard. They fumbled so hard on the latter half of the 360's lifespan. They dropped the ball, they dropped the exclusives, and then they just stopped dropping games, period. The last like few years of the 360 had no exclusive experiences. And everyone in the grandma was like, well, they're gonna come out with the new Xbox 720, and that's gonna fix those problems. They're just saving games for the 720. And we all know what we got. We didn't get the 720. We didn't even get the Xbox 420. We got the Xbox One, not one, 0NE, okay? Or ONE, if we're being technically correct how it's actually spelled. The point is we got that console, which had one of the worst first showings I've ever seen in a game. No, Goki, I'm not saying it's not on the PS3. What I'm saying is originally it was exclusive to the 360, and then it got ported later. Like, Xbox bought a bunch of exclusives of games that are now considered third party because they needed to try to push their console, and it worked, except when they lost those little deals, all those games fell right back on PlayStation. And guess what people did? They bought the games on PlayStation. But the point is, the Xbox One was announced, had a terrible freaking announcement to the point where even Sony got in on memeing it and burned them immensely with it. Then you came out the gate with games like Rise, Son of Rome, and freaking what was it? Rise, Son of Rome, and what was the other game? Oh, Killer Instinct, which had a horrible, horrible release practice. It was just a terrible way of releasing that game, which is sad because the game, for all accounts, is actually a good game. Funny, the Xbox One is a pun on Xbox One. It is. I'll talk about your thing in a second, Richie. But and then throughout the entire Xbox One generation, we would get a game, it'd be kind of mediocre or bad, like things like State of Decay, Crackdown, which were games that were announced early in the Xbox One's life cycle and didn't come out until way later. They became the butt of the joke with the way the console looked, the name of the console, the power gap between that and the PlayStation 4. They literally were losing on every single account. And every time they would get a W, it would get undercut by something. The only little W's they really got were in the form of games that they got through buying companies while they were working on the game. Things like Ori, things like Cuphead. Games that are generally great titles. Hi-Fi Rush. Well, no, sorry. My personal feelings came in there for a second. But my point is, they had all these cool and great games, and then they would get undercut by something. And then that's when they introduced Game Pass. And Game Pass, I think, was meant to be a complement to Xbox as an experience. And slowly but surely, it became the only thing of value on the Xbox brand. Because they don't... Oh, well, paying to play online. Yeah, you're right, Goki. That was another thing that they ushered in that a lot of people absolutely can't stand, because now no console has a free option. The Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation don't have free options in terms of playing online. So we're just out here taking L's. Well, the reason why we blame Xbox is because Xbox is the one who introduced it. PlayStation had the fairest version of playing online, which was, hey, you could either do that and get a better experience, or you could just do it for free and be fine. And then the PS4 snuck that in there, and because they already had so much goodwill, no one complained about it. Nobody complained about it and said, PlayStation whooped Xbox's and Nintendo's ass, which was technically true just in terms of public perception, and then became a nasty reality. That's why I said that the PlayStation 4 ran away with that generation because the other two companies had messed up. Now, Nintendo still had quality titles, but it didn't matter because your console still only sold 13 million, okay? Even if you had great games, it didn't matter. Hence why Nintendo has probably been the more justified company to re-release a lot of their stuff. They currently, I think, objectively have the worst selling home console, or at least close to one of the worst selling home consoles in history. So, sure, re-release those titles. So Xbox had a really bad generation. I would argue that Xbox had a worse generation than Nintendo did, even with it selling its worst selling console, because at least the games that Nintendo was making was worth the financial. You know what? Fine, we'll look up Xbox console sales while we're here, because we've already looked at Sony and Nintendo. Let's look at all the sales for the Xbox consoles. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Let's see. No. Oh my God. Actually, people are, Jesus Christ, there's a lot of doom and gloom articles going around too. I didn't even get the specifics. At least it came up on the first page for Nintendo and PlayStation. Holy crap. Can someone break this down? That is not what I need. Hold on. Do they not have just a proper... It's literally just articles about PlayStation beating the crap out of Xbox in sales, and I'm just trying to get the console sales of Xbox, the sales of Xbox. Maybe you know what? That's not helping. There's no way they don't have. Come on, bro. I'm gonna have to do this through Wikipedia, and it's gonna be janky. So let's see. The original Xbox sold 24 million. The Xbox 360 sold 84 million. So it's slightly lost against the PlayStation 3, which is kind of crazy considering how close it was. And then we went from 84 million to 58 million. Now, granted, that's not nowhere near as a big drop off as 102 million to 14 million, right? It's not that bad, okay? But they had like no quality title on their console. And every little smidgen of a quality title they had on their console somehow ended up on other people's consoles or PC thanks to things like Game Pass and then just straight up direct ports. Like, what the fuck? And now we're at the Series X and S, which currently, at least as of what I'm seeing, is around like 28 million. With last year, it sold worse than it did in 2023. Holy shit. But the other thing that killed them was this really bad generation. You were already ending the 360 on a kind of a rough note, but it's still a relatively positive one. And then every aspect of Xbox One was complete ass. Your console was worse. Your games played worse. Your first party exclusives weren't interesting. Your third party acquisitions were cool, but eventually people could just play those in other consoles. Game Pass was like the only good thing that came out of the Xbox One generation. And it seems like for the Series X and S, it's about in the same vein, where the X and S technically are better made and built systems than its predecessors. But you still have relatively mediocre experiences on your console. Why? You have even less exclusives than you did before. Even more of your games are on other consoles, and it makes me generally wonder, what is the point of the box? Now, as I've said, Phil has been on record talking about they don't really care about the console game. They said that time has passed. What they're probably referring to is the last generation. The Xbox One generation, I think, was that last chance they were thinking about of making a name for themselves, which I think is a little unfair to the Xbox brand because that shit didn't even try at all. At all. You did not try at all. Okay. The 360, even with its broken hardware, was a better and more genuine attempt of trying to beat Sony in console sales than what the Xbox One is acclaiming that it tried to do. The Xbox One didn't try to do shit. What the Xbox One tried to do was what the Xbox One tried to do is waste everybody's time. And spoiler alert, it succeeded. That's why I don't like the Xbox brand and I own the console. I think this latest console is the best console they've probably ever made. Here's the problem. There's nothing I need to play on it that I can't play on like 3 other things. If it's not Nintendo, it's PlayStation. If it's not PlayStation, it's PC. And if it's not PC, that means I don't want to play it. Now, the argument is, and this is something that a lot of people have already been talking about, that what they really want from gaming is everything to be on every box and that you just get to pick which platform you like their ecosystem better to indulge in. And that would make sense if Xbox wasn't making consoles. but you have a whole $500 box on the goddamn store shelf, and I'm sitting here in the corner going, what is the point of this box? Or maybe you want a dedicated Xbox system. The problem is that this transition is going from being the console manufacturer and the game producer to the point where now we've just devolved into, well, we mostly develop software. But, you know, we got a console if you want to use it. And everyone's in the back like, why are you acting like your console was the forethought? That's what you started the generation with this big ass box. And all of a sudden, this thing is like deprioritized in conversation. And I'm sitting here in the corner going, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Why did you? And I think that's why a lot of the fandom is annoyed with them. They're like, the Xbox is stupid and they don't know what they're doing. Because you didn't go from being like small to big. You went from being big to small and then acted like we weren't supposed to be surprised or confused by the action. It was weird. It didn't make sense. You literally said, well, we're just not going to try anymore. And we're just going to make games. And you know, even in that sense, it wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. Here is the problem, though. You still aren't making great games. You have every once in a while, like Indiana Jones or Hi-Fi Rush or even Halo Infinite, right? Halo Infinite was a strong base, and then you did nothing with it. Every time we do this, I think Xbox forgets the core thing about being a software mainly, Game Pass mainly kind of company. You still gotta make good games. Yeah, exactly. Halo 5. That was the other. Like, I think that's really what hurt. That's why I argue that Nintendo had a better generation with the Wii U than the Xbox had with Xbox One. Because out of everything that was going on with those two companies and the mistakes that were being made, you know, the one thing Nintendo fans could say the Xbox fans couldn't, they were still getting quality games for the most part. Not everything was amazing, but the games we did get were quality. You couldn't say that about Xbox. You had fucking Halo 5. You had Gears 5. You had Crackdown. You had State of Decay. The only real success story that came out of the Xbox One that wasn't like something like Cuphead or Hellblade, something that was being designed by a studio that happened to get bought in the middle of its development, was the only other success you had was Sea of Thieves. I think Sea of Thieves was the only real success story you had. And to the point now where I'm just sick of seeing the title. And even that is currently also on PlayStation. And the reason why fans are mad is because it doesn't make sense. Why am I buying this Xbox console if you out here putting your games on everything else? The one thing I thought of that would not be touched or would be the last things you would put over there is your holy trinity, which is Gears, Halo, and Forza. Now, I'm going to be real with you. What you probably should have done at this point in time is go on the path of reinventing yourself like PlayStation likes to do every fucking generation and give us some new IPs that stuck. Spoiler, we didn't get that either. And now we're sitting here looking stupid like, why did you waste my time with this nonchalant bullshit? Just a waste of fucking time and effort. And I'm sitting over in the corner going, what went wrong? Like I don't know that all you did was flounder around for 2 generations. We're releasing games. Really? What happened to Redfall? Oh. Why'd you give away Hi-Fi Rush? Oh. That's what makes me mad. Every time they get somewhere close, the brand is worthless. Imagine growing up as an Xbox fan. You would be so disillusioned. You would be so sad all the time. Imagine going through 2 generations of getting shitty games, practices that make them feel less like a game manufacturer and more like a software manufacturer, and then also having bad games on top of a mediocre console at the time to a better console that's still only playing mediocre games because they're still not giving you good games, and every good game you do get gets put on another platform almost within a year of it releasing. And I'm sitting over in the corner going, what was the point? Listen, you can make bad business decisions and bad gaming decisions, but you can't keep doing both at the same time. At least Nintendo was making bad console decisions while having generally good games. Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Bowser, Mario 3D World, Breath of the Wild, Smash, Splatoon, technically Bayonetta considering. Freaking, I'm drawing a blank and the games are right there. Oh my god, Donkey Kong, Pikmin 3, where else? Xenoblade Chronicles X, Mario Kart, fucking Captain Toad. What is that? Wonderful 101. They weren't all killers, right? They weren't all amazing. They weren't all complete W's. But the point is there was an effort made, and overall we had quality titles. And now we're over here looking at PlayStation, who's been sitting pretty in the public's eyes for an unnecessary amount of time based off of very little. I've always said that PlayStation is the cool kid of the three consoles, right? Xbox was the kid who could step up to PlayStation and could show that it could hang in the same space as PlayStation. Nintendo was the kid that just didn't care and just wanted to be himself and eventually got cool through his own means and methods, even if it wasn't intentional, right? PlayStation has always been the cool kid, and as a result, PlayStation got whatever PlayStation wanted most of the time, barring a few exceptions. And but the problem with PlayStation has become really apparent with this generation. Now, granted, these were also problems. Spoiler alert, these were also problems before. It's just more so you keep trying to dig a hole while also filling it up. And eventually, your head's going to get buried while you're still digging. And spoiler alert, that's literally what happened. Because now you're seeing people get laid off. Now you're seeing games not come out. Now you're seeing games getting canceled. Now you're getting them to port them on PC because they're not making enough money on their own console. You are starting to see the cracks in Sony's quote-unquote impenetrable armor. Because it was never like that. That was a lie. And the lie got harder to hold up as life and times got harder. And spoiler, with the PS5, if people still tell me that Sony's doing amazing, you're wrong. They're struggling and they're trying to maintain the illusion of greatness. Even though, let's be real here, the last great PlayStation console objectively was probably the PlayStation 2, maybe the PS3, depending on how you are. And even then, that was still a drop off from the PlayStation 2. Nintendo is hitting its peak right now. It is now sold more than it's ever sold. Hold on. My mother's calling me. Give me 1 second, guys. She always want to talk about something, bro. I love my mother, but holy crap. Sometimes I need a break to have a conversation with you guys. And it's always when I'm streaming. It's always when I'm streaming. It's always when I'm streaming. Huh. What was I talking about? Well, I was talking about PlayStation. I think very much this generation has shown problems PlayStation has always had. PlayStation went from essentially following in Nintendo's footsteps to going out of its way to be the cool kid. They wanted to create this illusion that they were more mature. People who enjoy PlayStation, not all of them, but there's a subsection of PlayStation that thinks that hates the moniker that video games are for children. They hate it with a burning passion. And so as a response to that, they've gone out of their way to make their games pseudo intellectual story driven games that are more about giving you a cinematic experience than an actual fun game to play. When people talked about The Last of Us initially, you know what people said? Oh, that story is amazing. That story's immaculate. No one talked about the gameplay. And then when you went back and looked, you went, oh, this is kind of a mediocre shooter that just has a really good narrative. Which is literally how most people should accurately describe The Last of Us. It's a narrative masterpiece with mediocre gameplay. That it's not saying that it's a bad game or it's a trash game, but people talk about the narrative of that game way more than they talk about the actual game itself. Which, you know, in my opinion, is kind of a problem, personally, right? And so, throughout the years, PlayStation has tried to shed its kiddie image, taking away a lot of its cartoony or like less serious IPs. And you start seeing less and less and less and less of them. And it all became about the intellectual, the emotional driven, and like this deep. People praise the multiplayer and the sound design too. Oh, fair. That's fair. That's fair. You're right, Donnie. I'm not gonna disagree with that. You're right. But my point is that Sony very much wants to be viewed as the cool kid and better than what it actually is, right? But as a result, they kept pushing hardware harder and harder. Like technically, most people would say that even though the PS3 was hard to design for, it was technically, on a technical standpoint, ahead of its time. It very much wanted to be a revolution in console, and they thought that the fandom would be willing to spend the money. And the funny thing is, they weren't wrong. They were just too early. Even people say that the fucking PlayStation Move was absurdly well handled and ahead of its time, to the point that they kept using it for the PlayStation 4 when they started doing VR. But the problem is, not enough people were buying into these products to justify their creation. Which is funny, because I like to view modern PlayStation and modern Nintendo as like mirrors of each other. Nintendo very much is trying to get the most fun without spending an insane amount of money. Nintendo was that mother who would just take you to the park and create this interesting imaginary experience for you and only spend $20. PlayStation's like, I'm taking you to Japan, Tokyo, where we're going to go through Akihabara and experience all manners of anime waifu nonsense, right? And they're going to spend like 30 grand. And they're both fun experiences, but PlayStation is spending way too much for what it's getting back, which is the same smiles that Nintendo's getting back. The difference is Nintendo smiles don't hurt them to look at when you realize that the Nintendo smile costs $20. The PlayStation smile costs 30 grand, and they both just fucking smiles. They're both just smiling at you. And so as a result, we're running into these situations now where they're just not making enough money to justify the technical push. There's nothing wrong with trying to be technically sound and to be technically ahead. But if people can't afford it and you're not making money, it's not fucking worth it. And you know, the funny thing is that PlayStation could have easily avoided this problem if it had done what Nintendo had done. But the only reason why it wouldn't have worked is because they would have required PlayStation to chill out a little bit and just make some lower budget titles. And PlayStation refused to do that. They were so disgusted by the part of them that made them in the first place, which is Japan. Their Japan side, they took a knife and said, cut that shit out of me yesterday. And as a result, you lost a bunch of games and a bunch of developers. And they wanted to be fully Western. Even though, let's be real here, some of the most successful games in all time aren't even from the US. It's like, I think there's like maybe a couple. Like fucking, like GTA, right? We have a handful of titles that are actually American made. Or with the American mindset is a better statement. So as a result, you're trying to be this ultra serious, ultra realistic company with these high-end engines and these crazy graphics, and you're not making any of your money back. So as a result, your console is slowly dying because it's not getting games at a fast enough rate. And then with all this recent news about the live service stuff, bruh, you need Xbox titles at this point to cover the deficit you're creating for yourself. And it becomes worse and worse the more you dig into it. They can't hold up the facade anymore, and that fucking mask is gonna drop. And all you're gonna see behind it is a big ass clown nose. And you're gonna be like, who the fuck is this clown? Oh, that's Sony. That's what Sony really is. Because Sony, just like Nintendo and Xbox, are fucking nerds. They're all nerds. And there's nothing wrong with being a nerd, but but Sony's not confident in it. Sony wants to be like, well, I'm artsy fartsy and I'm trying to tell you a message. And I got Neil Druckmann because he makes the greatest games like The Last of Us 2 that everybody loved unanimously. Well, what's that? You didn't? You just didn't get it. You are a gamer, that after all. They kept burning themselves. And so as we got into, now we're in 2025, and the only real notable PlayStation game we know about is Ghost of Yote. That is literally it. And there might be some other smaller titles, and I guess technically Naughty Dog's next game that had a really bad showing and that I don't think anybody's actually excited for based off the gameplay or the cutscene. You know why you're excited? Because Naughty Dog mostly has a spotless reputation. It's not because... Wow, that's crazy, Donnie. And it's not because it's quality. And you know what? Part of me hates doing these kinds of streams. You know why? You want to know why I hate doing? Because they boil down to the same problems we run into. I'm excited for Nintendo news. Xbox is non-existent. And PlayStation keeps burying itself financially in a hole. It just keeps fucking happening. They released 3 fucking pieces of hardware, or 2, I think it's 2 or 3 pieces of hardware between the PlayStation 5 has had a VR that costs more than a console that no one bought. You put out a Portal that originally didn't even work as a separate entity away from the PlayStation 5, which a lot of people didn't buy until it fixed itself, kinda. Now it's only halfway of a piece of shit. And then you put out a Pro console that people didn't buy because it wasn't even a quality Pro console. It was a fucking disappointment even by that metric. And I'm sitting over here in the corner going, what are you doing? While also bleeding and hemorrhaging money from all your failed ventures into live service titles and failed studios. And everyone's in the back going, when's the next big game? Is Wolverine still coming out? Well, is the Insomniac League gonna still ring true? Or did you reschedule all those games? Because you also have Insomniac carrying you on your back. Why is Insomniac making all these games and you only got one new God of War, one new Horizon title? And then you're re-releasing Last of Us for the 3rd fucking time. That's why you're trying to make movies out of a bunch of shit. Because you need the money. I mean, the live service is a part of the problem. Like, I think that's a fair point to make. Live service is absolutely screwed people, okay? I don't even think that's really debatable. They can argue it all they want, but I very much will still blame live service for a lot of Sony's problems because they gambled, but they didn't like gamble kind of. They gambled hard and they lost hard. And everyone in the back was not surprised as a result. And I do mean I was not surprised at all as a result, okay? It was fucking embarrassing is what it was. But I think I'm going to give you guys a chance to speak your piece in mind about how you feel. Also, that looks adorable, Donnie. I'm thumbsing that up right now. Everyone, if you want to, listen, if you want to talk about our gaming state, and I know Richie had some disagreements with PlayStation. This doesn't have to be an Xbox shitting party or some Nintendo glazing. We can have a genuine discussion about anything. Get in the gamer chat on the server. I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that, and then we can have a discussion if you want about whatever gaming related topics. Because I'm very happy to see a lot of these Nintendo games hit 1 million sales on the Switch. Some of these IPs desperately needed some more love and appreciation, and it shows that interest is there. And I'm hoping that interest carries over into another console. Because at this point, I very much... Unrelated to absolutely everything. VTubers are not real. Okay. Yeah, you're on that Chornick energy today, Richie. GG's. But yeah, if you want to talk about stuff, get into the gamer chat on my server, and we can talk about it. I'll give you guys a few minutes. But yeah, unfortunately we're just today's gonna be an in chat day, so it's a chat day for me. Oh, okay, that's fine, Donnie. I'm just giving people the option because I know we talk a lot of trash. But yeah, my whole point is just that I hate modern, like the when people want to still do console war shenanigans nowadays, just seems stupid to me. Nowadays it feels even worse than it used to because there's no real arguments to be made. Sony's doing pretty poorly in terms of finances and sales, and it's reflecting in the low output of exclusive titles. Xbox is essentially given up as a console manufacturer and pretty much just does mediocre game releases with a couple of gems and a lot of doo-doo to go through, right? And Nintendo currently is riding high, and we're looking at them as the savior of gaming because only they can breathe life back into this dead conversation online. Realistically, I don't even know what gaming content you're looking at about new systems. It would all have to be about old games and reviews and video essays about how cool certain old titles are, because modern gaming in a lot of ways is just kind of ass. It's not like terrible and it's not like unredeemable, but it's just not great. And it's primarily not great because you only got one company that feels like it's really trying with some mediocre efforts from the rest of the industry in terms of console manufacturers, not in general. Even though Square sometimes doesn't do itself any favors. For the most part, it's really the console manufacturers I'm discussing. Because, yeah, I'm excited for Switch 2, but we got to wait another 2 months before we get some real tangible information to get excited about. I look over in the corner, and I'm like, Xbox, this box literally just exists for me. Ever since I bought my new PC, I haven't even cut this Xbox on, which is about what I expected. In the PS5, I've been playing Stellar Blade. There are great games on PS5. I just wish PlayStation would give the other side of it a chance again. You have these crazy IPs and these wonderful developers who can make amazing titles, and you keep investing all your funds into fucking live service games and goddamn it's live service and like these expensive titles that come out once every 9 years or some shit. And then you re-release Last of Us 3 times. You're about to re-release Last of Us Part 2. Just Jesus Christ. Is just disappointing. All companies isn't having their industry flourishing with their games on exclusives and variety of IPs from all companies. It's depressing. It's depressing because because people have made mistakes and a lot of those mistakes have caught up to them. I hate that Xbox's issue is that they just don't want to try anymore. That generally ticks me off because it's like, bro, you would be fine if you would just make good games. That's literally all you got to do. That's literally all you got to do. Just make good games. The answer is simple, Richie. You remake a title for the season that just came out, right? They just had The Last of Us Season 1 come out like a year ago, and you're about to have Season 2 come out, and you're probably going to remake and port 2 as well. And also because it's cheaper than trying to get Insomniac to rush another game out for you because you don't have anything for us to buy. Even Ghost of Yote doesn't even have a fucking release date currently, does it? Let's go check. Ghost of Yote, do you have a release date yet? Do you have a release date? It's just 2025. We have no idea when this game comes out. No idea when this game comes out. 2025, baby. 2025. Because it's cross promotion. That's probably the reason why they're going into these other fields. That's why PlayStation is letting MLB show up on Nintendo and Xbox. That's why almost every first party major exclusive from Sony this year, I mean from the last 5 years, have ended up on PC. If I open up Steam and look at the PlayStation page and let's see how many people from PlayStation, how many games from PlayStation are currently on Steam. Let's look, shall we? PlayStation Studio has 22 games on Steam. Spider-Man 2. Fucking Last of Us 2 Remastered comes out on April 3rd. Lego Horizon. Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, for those who forgot that was a thing. Until Dawn, which I think is also getting a remaster, isn't it? Or is that it? That might be it. I might be wrong. But the point is, Until Dawn. Helldivers. Ghost of Tsushima, which means Ghost of Yote, more than likely will also be on Steam, right? Fucking Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart, Returnal, Miles Morales, Sackboy, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Edition. God, that's so loud. Why are you so loud, Richie? What the fuck?
I just be happy too much.
God, that scared me. It's so loud, bro. God of War 2018, Days Gone, Zero Dawn, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, Helldivers Dive Hard Edition, which, whatever about all that. Well, my point is that it was just Jesus Christ. Oh, for the MLB thing, it was the licensors that asked Sony to do it since they didn't want to keep the exclusive deal anymore. Oh, okay. We'll leave that one alone. But my point is, I think that's every major PlayStation release between late PS4 and PS5. What PS5 exclusive isn't on Steam currently that isn't coming to Steam?
Astrobot?
Yep. And that may change. I'm gonna just be real with you.
Probably.
It would not surprise me if they put Astrobot on PC. So now you don't even have to own a PlayStation 5. And then what? Stellar Blade's also coming this year. So I'm like, bro, why do you need a PlayStation 5? Like, this generation has been super disappointing as a whole because of this shit. Does Sony even have anything else coming out that we know about? Don't we have an Until Dawn remaster or remake? And then we have Ghost of Yote. I think that's it, dude. I could go look real quick.
Better question. Where the fuck is my Wolverine game?
I think they changed the release date for all that because of the leak. The Insomniac leak, I think Sony went, nah, y'all can't see that now. The Wolverine game is the only thing they need to show because, you announced that before the leak happened, so...
Yeah, you did.
We know that game exists, and that game needs to come out. That's the problem with that one.
I say it comes out 2028 at this point.
No, what? There's no way. It better come out this year and early next
I
year.
I only say it because what will happen, and this has happened a lot, games will or companies will announce, hey, this game's going to come out on this date. But a few months later or whatever, they say, oh, we're sorry. We're going to have to delay the game so we can optimize your gameplay experience. Some stupid shit like that.
Yeah,
Like,
but
if anything,
Wolverine.
delay is like the main word of the last decade.
Yeah, but for Wolverine, it doesn't make sense because Wolverine never even officially showed gameplay. Like we've seen footage, and we know we've seen some of the footage, so we know, but that's unofficially.
Are you sure that opening trailer, the only thing we got wasn't just like a cinematic?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we didn't get any gameplay. They never showed us gameplay
Okay.
officially.
Okay.
The only gameplay we saw was the leak, and that was rough gameplay because it wasn't technically meant to be shown there. Which
Yeah. No, I don't really count that. That's WIP, working progression.
so I don't know. It's just kind of like, oh, it's just as a gamer, this shit is just kind of depressing because it's an overall lack of just quality and creativity. What I'm essentially getting from my trouble as a gamer is a bunch of fucking mediocre experiences and two console manufacturers who I just think have fucked up in two completely. I mean, like I said, Xbox has been fucking up since the 360, and PlayStation has technically had its problems since the PS3. But I would argue the PS4 and PS5 are a bigger representation of those problems than anything, which was just a lack of trying to get away from its Japanese roots, cutting off IPs and trying to make everything look like a cinematic experience, and then
I
spending
think
too much money.
their first biggest problem that I think I can recall from the early PlayStation days was that fucking, as I like to call it, the memory card exodus during the PS2 days, because that was when there was like a lot of demand for memory cards, but they didn't have enough supply. So that was like their quote unquote, I guess, controversy, you can say.
It's kind of hard for me to call that a controversy personally, though, because it doesn't lead into anything. It'd be a little bit different. Like that didn't stop that console from selling, and that wasn't even a problem. I mean, the memory issue is a problem in general because of third party more than anything else. Third party wants to make these giant fucking games, and everybody has to like either have an insane amount of storage to cover it or no storage at all. It's a
Yeah,
little bit.
good luck doing that on the PS2.
Well, I mean, like I said, PlayStation 2's memory issue is a little bit different, but that was a product of its time situation. Because GameCube had memory cards. I don't remember. I assume Xbox had memory cards. I don't know because I never owned the original Xbox, so I
don't
don't
know.
have a lot of experiences with the OG Xbox. The reason why some of y'all might be wondering why I'm more focusing on PlayStation, part of it is because I'm just gonna burn out talking about Xbox. There's only like the problem with Xbox has not
Oh
changed.
yeah, I forgot the safe corruption thing.
Yeah, Donnie
Donnie
said,
put in that
yeah.
chat.
So
I remember that. Yeah.
my problem with
Thankfully, I never dealt with it. So.
the problem going over with Xbox is this. It's been the same problem for like the last couple of years at this point, or 5 years
Mhm.
realistically. I think it's okay to have more mediocre experiences. The problem is the price of games now. $70 for an okay game that won't get DLC or expansion when then the game is forgotten. I mean, okay. I guess when we say mediocre experiences, I think we need to clarify what we really mean is double A experiences. That's what I really would call those. I don't want to say mediocre. Mediocre sounds worse than what it actually is. Mediocre realistically just means okay. When you say a mediocre game experience, we're talking about a double A experience, which is what people view Astrobot is. And they would view Astrobot as that primarily because Astrobot probably didn't cost nowhere near as like Spider-Man 2 or God of War Ascension, not Ascension, Ragnarok cost. So in that way, it's a double A title. Um, the problem at this point just kind of devolves into this is all we get every like 7 months. Like, what were the major releases for PlayStation last year?
Again, Astrobot. Like I don't know.
That wasn't the only one, right?
Well, that's the only
Oh,
one I could think of.
oh,
That's the only one I could think of.
Stellar Blade, which is technically not
Yeah,
even a
yeah.
Sony made game.
No, it's not.
Was Astrobot the only unique experience we got? Hold on.
Considering the genre, it was. I would say so.
No, PS5 2024.
I'd be shocked if there was like another game that was more unique than that.
Let's see.
Because a lot of it is like what open world RPG type shit, story driven games, first person shooters. So when you see a 3D platformer come in and just fucking smack in the market, it's like,
I
wow,
think
this
people,
is
I think, I
different.
think people were just excited because it was a 3D platformer that didn't have Nintendo's name on it, showing that you didn't need Nintendo all the time to get a good platformer. Which, don't get it twisted, they're still the king of platformers. But the point is that you didn't need them. I think the only title is Stellar Blade, Astrobot, and
Yep.
I
Yep.
guess Final Fantasy, because I think that was still exclusive to the PlayStation. I think someone can correct me.
The remake, right?
Yeah, the remake. I think that's it though. Well, we also had Silent Hill 2, but I think that was multiplat.
Yeah, it's considered exclusive for now.
What, Final Fantasy?
Yeah.
Yeah. You had 3 titles. You had 3 titles for the whole year. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's
I'm not
mental,
like
isn't it?
surprised, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I know they didn't have money, and I know the money they did have, they already wasted. At the same time, it's still kind of a painful surprise that you only had 3 real big hits. And realistically, that's been kind of their MO for the last 5 years. They usually got 2 to 3 games, and that's all you get from them. But you know, when PlayStation used to have a bunch of IPs, it's funny the way people get mad at Nintendo for not releasing things like Mother or Golden Sun. PlayStation gets for things like Parappa the Rapper and fucking Twisted Metal. And the sad thing is, some of those IPs would do well, especially considering Twisted Metal had a fucking TV series that did okay. So you would create an interest in an IP that you had no interest in like supporting.
No.
Ratchet and Clank, they did a movie for. They were talking about a Sly Cooper movie and a Gravity Rush movie.
I don't think the Sly Cooper movie's gonna happen. Sadly.
I don't even think the Gravity Rush movie is gonna happen. And why would it? Considering you only made 2 games and then you killed the studio that made those games.
I was about to say, didn't they? I was about to say, didn't they kill the studio? like that would be mental, by the way, to kill the studio and then be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're still gonna make the movie for that game.
Yeah, I don't
It's
understand.
Like, what? It's like what?
It's obvious they're making the film to recoup the cost to like regain interest. Well, it's supposed to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. One, it generates interest in a Sony IP, and then 2, it you make money with a good quality movie in theaters. So you're getting paid off of the movie while also generating more interest for your IP in general. My problem is I don't think you plan to make any more Gravity Rush games, so now I'm just like, what's the point of the movie?
No, not for now. No way.
They got to renew the license somehow. Do they? I thought they owned the license for that.
I mean, if you own it, I don't think you have to.
And the only thing about Infamous from earlier, Goki, that you mentioned, you can't really get Infamous if they're working on other things. Like Horizon, which has been like a weird push, even though I don't think Horizon sells nearly as much as they like to claim it does. It's like this weird conversation that goes on that isn't official.
Yeah.
That like they make that Horizon is way more popular than it actually is. Even people who played Horizon don't talk about Horizon on a character level.
No way.
It's a game that is purely fun for its premise alone, and that's how it lives and dies. And everyone understands that except for the developers. No one cares about Horizon's plot. Horizon, like when I talk about a plot being uninteresting that I have no engagement with, that is Horizon in its entirety. I don't remember the characters' names. I barely remember what some of them look like, and some of them have had their faces change in between games. I just like fighting robot animals and climbing robot giraffes and hunting them and trapping them and doing that stuff. I don't give a fuck about the plot of Horizon. I don't think most people who play Horizon don't care about the plot. I have friends who play Horizon. You know what they do with Horizon?
Put on the shelf?
They know. They enjoy the game and don't talk about anything else. No one talks about the characters.
Yeah.
No one talks about the characters at all, bro. It's kind of sad. Also, Tyrone must be streaming.
He said he did say that in chat earlier, I think.
Oh, did he? I didn't even see. Well, obviously I was busy. But yeah, I think I've hit. I don't really have anything else to add at this point. Like I said, the problem I have about doing these kinds of streams, and part of the reason why, guys, I don't do them as often, is because we're currently in the same boring ass spot. How many times you guys want me to like complain about Xbox and make fun of PlayStation and tell you I'm excited for Nintendo Switch news? Realistically, you're not gonna get interesting content from me in terms of gaming streams until literally we get to the Nintendo Switch 2. Also, apparently, PSN went down?
Yeah, no, buddy of mine was telling me that the servers are down.
Look at that. Look at that. And remember, y'all got a price hike for PlayStation Plus not too long ago. Like a year ago.
It is mental, mate.
So you're spending more money for a service that is still breaking down now. So good job, guys. Enjoy your PlayStation Plus that you pay more money for, and somehow you still can't get the fuck online. 10 out of 10 service is fucking great. Well, yeah, generally, I don't think I have much else to add. Because like I said, until we get new Nintendo Switch news or a state of play that's interesting, this is going to be the same old song and dance, guys, which is why I haven't been doing these kind of streams. Because they're just not fucking... It gets redundant. This shit's redundant. Even Tyrone, when he popped in, mentioned he had just rented on Xbox. And unfortunately, as a result, that conversation is in the same tier as this conversation. Because it's the same thing about being disappointed in a brand that gave the fuck up. And I think it's more annoying from Xbox because Microsoft has money. They have money. If they really wanted to be that force, they literally would just have to put the money into it. But they've essentially given up on that.
Mm-hmm.
They'd rather be like the most well-known side chick instead of the girlfriend. Which, fine, if that's what you want to do. I wouldn't co-sign that. But hey.
Yeah, hell no.
You're not me, so whatever, bro. It's whatever.
You're not me.
There's nothing else really to add on that. I just don't. And also, just because I'm be real with you, I get exhausted. It's exhausting to complain about this company. It's exhausting to complain about this company with no real solution. There's nothing else to add. The only thing I would say now is for those that go online and look up people crashing out. Look at Sony and Xbox fans, primarily Xbox fans, crashing out at the state of their companies. And then go watch a bunch of new Nintendo Switch 2 rumor mill videos where people are making them and getting like fucking thousands of views because everyone wants some information. They still got to wait another 2 months. Well, it's going to be 2.5 by the end of next week. But the point is, gaming is kind of sucks right now, realistically. I don't know if I blame gaming for it.
Gaming's been sucking for a while.
No, I don't want to say that. I said the industry. I don't want to say gaming in general.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what I mean more so industry-wise. It's pretty bad.
But hopefully we'll come back into a renaissance of sorts. But if Rich, you don't have anything to add, I think we're just going to get out of here.
Not that this will probably mean much, but they're also saying that we might get a fucking state of play the week we're out. like literally on that Friday.
It wouldn't surprise me considering we haven't had any real.
I mean, yeah, it's been a while since then, but
Sony hasn't really talked about their 2025 really, and if you're gonna talk about it, this would be the time to talk about it. So bring on a state of play, I guess. I'm not really mad at that. They need one, and I hope it actually has some games in there that people care about, and not this weird. Oh, by the way, um, we video games.
yeah, video games, they look good. Buy it.
Exactly. Video games, buy it, baby. But
You like story? Buy my game.
Lord. But honestly, guys, I think we're gonna get out of here. Tomorrow, I will be streaming Brothership on Twitch, so look out for that. Richie, do you want to promote or plug anything?
If you want to see me fucking maybe break my monitor or a window over me trying to kill a bumblebee, that is peak frustration. Twitch.tv/rfiredude97, probably in the early afternoon, probably ideally between 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific. So if you want to see some mental madness, be sure to tune in. And then you can cool yourself down with some nice Mario and Brother shit with the Insane Game Freak.
Yay. And with that being stated, Tyrone is streaming on YouTube, so we're going to try to raid Tyrone from here.
Wait, you can raid on YouTube?
You can, but it's not as fluid as Twitch is.
I like to see how this looks.
So you have to go into your video settings, and it'll ask you to redirect to another video. And as long as the other person's streaming and you're following them on YouTube or subscribe to them, you can click their live as something to raid to. So we'll see it in a second, actually. So for those of you, we'll see you tomorrow either on Richie's stream or my stream or both. Until then, this has been your boy, the Insane Game Freak. Life is indeed a game. I indeed play to win. And see if we get a state of play next week, because holy shit, I don't want to switch to excitement. Can only go so far with a little bit of information. We know what Nintendo's doing, and we know what Xbox is trying to do. Sony, make a move!
Please.
We'll see you guys later. Say hi to Tyrone for me. Peace out.
Hi, turn the guy free. Are you?
Do you see it on the
Oh
screen?
my god!